The purpose of this video is to show you that the rate of patients taking pills not only reflects an ignorance of psychiatry in the world and America, it also reflects forced medication of innocent people. Now, I'd like to start with 1 Peter 5:6. Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. So it says, cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. Now, we're doing readings. Now let's read from the Unholy Bible, the psychiatric manuals, and the psychiatric's own words. But yet, this is where I agree with them, because even shrinks, who are almost always wrong, every once in a while say something that's right. So we go to mentalhealthabout.com, library Psy 0101 BLBDDX 0101.htm. Now, Washington, D.C. Misdiagnosis or incomplete diagnosis of bipolar disorder is extensive among psychiatric patients, according to a study published in the January 2001 Journal of Psychiatric Services. Psychiatrists who reconsider diagnosis in overlapping areas of bipolar depression, major depression, and other disorders are more likely to make correct diagnosis, according to the study. Okay, so they can't make up their mind about what to do. As we go down further in the article goes on to say, the study indicates that current limitations of diagnostic tools and resources result in patients who are treated with antidepressants without the benefit of mood stabilizers. So, they're like, okay, we're misdiagnosing people, we're giving them the wrong medication. Right there. Now, if you look at, when it goes on to the end, to say that one of the sources is Strategies to Reduce Misdiagnosis of Bipolar Depression by Charles L. Bowden, MD, Journal of Psychiatric Services. Okay? So now we go on to the next source. There's so many sources that I just started, I'm just going to bookmark them instead of taking notes for a while. I don't know when it comes to my enemy sources. So we go to shockmd.com 2011/11/15/diagnostics/error/in/psychiatry/ Diagnostic errors are hot these days. The subject is of importance for patient safety, and as such, attention on this subject has increased. Previously noted about a diagnostic error, the availability bias. There are many more possible cognitive diagnostic errors to be made by physicians. Some diagnostic errors are more common in psychiatry. Fundamental attribution error. The tendency to be judgmental and blame patients for their illnesses, dispositional causes in parentheses, rather than examine the circumstances, situational factors in parentheses, that might have been responsible. In particular, psychiatric patients, minorities, and other marginalized groups tend to suffer from this cognitive dispositions to respond. Cultural differences exist in terms of the respective weights attributed to dispositional and situational causes. So, the cultural differences, this is what I've been saying, some out-of-touch psychiatrists trying to judge you and trying to say, okay, you are having this problem because the problem is in you. But really, it's cultural differences, and it's your disposition to cultural shock. Now, we go on to, continuing the article, psych out error. Psychiatric patients appear to be particularly vulnerable to the cognitive dispositions to respond described in this list and to other errors in their management, some of which may exacerbate their condition. They appear especially vulnerable to fundamental attribution error. In particular, comorbid medical conditions may be overlooked or minimized. A variant of psych out error occurs when serious medical conditions, parentheses, e.g., hypoxia, delirium, metabolic abnormalities, CNS infections, head injuries, and parentheses, are mixed diagnosed as psychiatric conditions. So, in the psych out error, it describes how other conditions that have been proven to exist and are quite straightforward and simple, not some made-up fairy fruitcake's fucking theory, could be the cause. And thus ends that article. So now, now we go to the next article I'd like to bring to your attention. Journals.lww.com, Practical Psychiatry, Abstract 2011/03,000/identifying _and_reducing medication, and on and on and on. You know, you can find the article from there. So, it's by Jairam Geetha, MD, MBA, Doyle Daniel, MS, Steinwachs Donald, PhD, Samuel Jacks, PhD. So we got their own PhDs, their own MDs. What do these guys got to say about themselves? It's an abstract from it. Medication errors, MEs, in psychiatry have not been extensively studied. Wait a second. You mean to tell me in the March 2011 of Journal of Psychiatric Practice, you've been saying what the fuck I've been saying for the past 22 years? Let's go on to say, no long-term prospective efforts to demonstrate error reduction in psychiatric care using multidisciplinary interventions have been published in the literature. This article discusses the implementation of the Patient Safety Net, PSN, an error reporting system, and of the Provider Order Entry Program, POE, a prescribing system. We educated and trained staff in their use, conducted concurrent chart reviews to estimate true error reduction, and provided continuous feedback as errors occurred. The intervention described here resulted in a reduction in MEs in association with performance improvements that were conducted over 5 years and involved 65,466 patients and 617,524 billed doses, which is the largest study of an intervention to reduce psychiatric medication errors reported to date. So what inspired such a grandiose effort and so many doses in patients? Could it be the so-called experts realized they don't know what the fuck they were talking about? And they decided to put yet another bias study to cover their tracks. Even in the most bogus of studies, they have to admit that MEs exist and are rampant. Oh, poor psychiatry. Poor demon psychiatrists. Not only do you have to go against me, you have to go against the people. You have to go against the Bible and God Himself. And of course, for those infidels who that's not enough, they gotta go against common sense. No wonder they gotta force so many people to take things like electrical shock therapy. They admit some of the most commonly diagnosed things, mental disorders, which are medicated and prescription drugs are given. They admit that these have no basis in reality. That not only are errors in prescription coming about a rate of 3 in 1,000, but you got to worry about errors in MEs and errors in the physician's diagnosis. Psychiatry is a great fraud. It makes Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme seem like a Girl Scout who charges you a few extra pennies for a cookie.